It was the NGL questions. So they're like
What is
anonymous
NGL?
questions. NGL is
Yeah.
the app.
Oh,
NGL means not gonna lie.
Oh, does it?
For young with it people. First of
Does
all, the
it?
fact that neither one of you guys knew what LFG is
how do
has
you know
aged
what it
you.
means?
Because I'm cool. Unlike you.
Clearly. NGL
Come
and
on.
LFG. I had
Yeah, not
no
gonna
idea.
lie.
I
Do
had
you
no
guys
idea.
not use like shorthand or whatever on text?
No.
Like old shorthand.
LOL.
Yeah.
OMG. You want to start?
Who has the list of questions? So essentially a couple of days ago we posted asking people to send us questions anonymously. So we don't know who sent these, but they are our listeners. So one, thank you guys for engaging with us. We love it when you guys talk to us. And we got some really cool questions and ones that are definitely fair and legitimate questions to ask. So Maya, I think, do you have the list?
Mm-hmm.
I think I texted the list, but I'm on my phone, so I can't look.
Oh, I'll look. Oh, dang. There's a long list. Biggest red flags in a guy was one of them.
Yes.
Which that could be a whole episode.
We can start with that. There was a question about interfaith marriage or something similar to that about religion.
That's fine. How do you feel about interreligion marriages? And then the other one was, I'd love to know how each of your thoughts on Desi weddings and the chaos behind them and your experiences. They could kind of go together.
I know. I almost feel like we could do a whole episode about weddings in general, which we definitely should. So stay tuned on that because there's so much to talk about. Both the Dhaka weddings in December,
wedding
and
season
January,
is coming. Yes,
wedding season, and also the wedding season here, which is typically in the summer. You know, not to be overshadowed because it's pretty wild nowadays here too. The amount of money people spend on weddings is crazy.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to do? The interfaith one? What was the question again?
How do you feel about interreligion or interfaith marriages? Is it how do we feel, or is it more like what was our experience?
I can speak to that. I am actually, I don't know if I'm in one. So
yeah, you're technically. I don't think you are.
Yeah. So yes, for those of you who aren't familiar, my husband grew up Lutheran. He is American and was raised Lutheran, but before we got married, he converted into Islam. So it's a little bit different, I guess, but I can tell you for me, my perspective is that I knew it was already a big deal marrying out of my culture. And I think it was even a bigger deal marrying into a different religion too. So, and I think there was more pressure or importance put on that who you marry should be Muslim. And for the most part, I practice Islam, and there are many things that I still do that are very much ingrained and are within my religion. And Damon he wasn't super religious. So for me, it was a little bit of like, well, I want to maintain everything that I grew up with and my values. And that's how I want to raise my children. So it was important to me as well to marry someone who followed the same religion. And I mean, ultimately, you see all of these Bollywood movies of like people running away and getting married and their parents disown them and all this stuff. That's not the ending I ever wanted. That's never a happy ending.
Yeah.
I never want a situation where like I'm not talking to my parents because of a person, like a guy I chose. So it was important to me. And, I respect that he respected that and converted. And so it wasn't a huge issue for us because we went into the marriage with him already converted. So there was never like this big like, oh my God, what are you doing? So that's a little bit different of an experience from maybe even the person who's asking, who could potentially be in a relationship where it's like we're going to be two different religions, and it's a big deal for our families. For now, my own children, that's going to be interesting, right? Like, who do they marry? we're raising our children Muslim. They, they're learning everything about Islam. They're learning how to pray and all of that stuff. So, but am I going to be like, I'm going to disown you? No, I'm probably not.
Yeah.
But that's just my perspective. I don't know about you guys.
I can't speak to this because religion was never a part of my growing up. And it's not, I mean, faith and knowing that there's a higher entity beyond us. And when I was married, I was married to a Muslim Bangladeshi guy. So I don't have much to add to this.
But what's interesting is that's where I used to argue about this, which is, it's totally fine if you're marrying a Muslim, but that person may not be practicing at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And they never even blink an eye about that, because on paper, you were raised Muslim, you're
Yes.
Muslim, right?
Yes.
But like, they might not be doing any of that, but that didn't matter. So
It didn't
that's
matter.
kind of, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I don't know, Maya, what do you think?
Well, I think one of the things I wanted to mention was I grew up, so my mom married a white Canadian, very Christian man. So I grew up, and my mom wasn't super religious. And she's a complete hippie. So she just raised us with tell the truth, don't steal,
Yeah.
don't harm any creature, whether it's like an ant or a person. And that was kind of our mindset. At the same time, we would go to church on Sundays because that was, my stepdad, that's what he used to do. We used to go. I still find going to church extremely peaceful.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I am probably the least religious person that you'll meet. I'll have 1,000 arguments about any religion that you can bring up from whatever I know that will go against, organized faith. When I got married to Fuad, this was one of the things that we never really discussed because at the time, I mean, he grew up Muslim. He's also Sileti, which means they're a little bit more on the conservative side. His mom is super religious, and I know that I think it's all about how you are willing to kind of bend and mold in that relationship or compromise. So for us, we always knew that, okay, our faith is something really personal. Whether you believe in God or not, that's completely your own, that's your business with the higher power.
Yep.
Yeah.
When it did get a little kind of controversial for us, it was when we had kids, because then what do we do, right? Because I'm non-practicing. If somebody asked me, I really wouldn't even know what to say. Like I'm agnostic, dabbling into maybe a little bit of Buddhism, but that you can't really call that a religion either. So when it came to my kids, I also knew that my husband, he might not be super religious, but he still believes in the faith enough for him to teach his kids, about the religion. So I have done my part with the kids, kind of teaching them everything and just kind of letting them figure things out on their own. And I feel like, I think the question is there, whether the two people that are going into this relationship are willing to go into it without any resentment in the future.
Yeah.
I say that because there's somebody that we know who was very high profile. The girl was Hindu. No, the girl was Muslim. The guy was Hindu. They got married. And then after that, she would blame everything that went wrong in their relationship to the fact that, they were an interfaith couple. And
Wow.
it was to that point where it kind of drove them apart, and they ended up, splitting up and then she became super religious.
Wow.
So I feel like those sort of conversations need to happen before, and everyone just really needs to get their ground straight on, so that there's no resentment afterwards. Because seeing that person now, I mean, I feel kind of bad, but
But would someone know, like when you're getting married, so many things happen and I've seen people completely turn so religious, very orthodox because some, tragic moment or experience in their life much later. Like there's a lot of things you can't control and you don't know. So when you're saying like set the foundation and the expectations as much as you can early on. But I mean, you don't know where things can kind of take people, because I also feel, again, religion is not a big part of my life, but I've seen a lot of people use it as
Mhm.
like a source of strength, or a guide, some guidance, again, later in life, because maybe things didn't go their way or whatever it was. So people take different turns into how deep they dive into religion from life experience too.
This is definitely a fear that I have.
I can
Somewhere,
see that.
this is the fear I have, that one day Fuad's gonna become super religious and he's gonna be like, dude, you gotta come
Mullah.
on this path with me, or
I don't know. I feel like I think that's it. Like, how much you would impose on your partner.
Yeah.
I don't think he would.
But in general, though, like that, I would say, like, I mean, maybe that's the red flag question. But it's like, I'm not changing like the core parts of who I
Mhm.
am for this marriage, right? Like, and that, I hope that that's not an expectation,
Yeah. I mean, and that's more than just religion, right? Like
right?
there are many things that change in a marriage. People's personalities change, their priorities
Mm-hmm.
change. So it's not just religion, but I mean, we're talking about the topic of religion, but I agree. And what's crazy is like love is blind, right? When you're in this,
Yeah,
all you care about is like that's never going to happen to us. We're different. We
yeah,
understand each other, but I think something like religion for many people is a huge foundation of who they are. Um, sometimes, like, I almost even think about myself, like, how do I identify? Do I identify as a Bangladeshi first or a Muslim first, right? Like, it's even that part of it. And you have to kind of ask yourself, what's important to you?
yeah,
And if those values that you've been raised with and believe in are important, then do not, give that up for
yeah.
the name of love.
Yeah.
Love is temporary, y'all. Just saying.
I can attest to that.
So,
Yep.
yeah. And scene.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think it's
What
a good
else?
segue to the red flags question was interesting. What was exactly the question?
Biggest red flags in a guy? A
Mm.
guy or just a partner, I think, in general.
Can I tell you one that like I feel like consistently I've seen this work out? Dudes that wear shoes with no socks and a
Stop.
little bit of the hide.
What?
I'm telling
And
you,
that's his style too, isn't it? Like one of the
guys,
loafers.
every fucking guy who wears those like slim fitting pants and they're a little bit short, like flood pants,
I know
I
who you're
do
picturing.
too.
and
And the
it's
chokha
true,
juta?
and they do not wear socks with their freaking
Chokha
loafers or
juta.
whatever, or the pointy shoes. Those dudes
Oh
are
my god.
100% shady. I'm just saying.
Cheater. Done.
That's a really good one.
It's a red flag for me. Anytime let me tell you, I follow this one influencer, not Bangladeshi, but she recently married this guy, and I saw like she hid him the entire time, like, oh, I'm engaged. It's this like Middle Eastern girl.
Oh.
And she was like, I'm engaged, but like, I don't want to share who this person is on social media until we get married. Okay, fine. So she gets married and posts like her wedding pictures. And this dude is wearing exactly that, like slim
Chiba
fitting
pen.
pants,
Chokha
no
juta.
socks with like fancy shoes. And I was like, this guy is sketch. And then I go on TikTok and I find all these stories about how he was married before
Does she
and
know that? She
literally
should know that.
divorced his last wife while he started dating this
Oh
other
no.
girl. Again, TikTok rumors, but I was like, I called it. Dude was shady because he's not wearing socks with his shoes. I'm telling you.
That's a really good one.
Mhm.
Really
That's a
good one.
definite red flag for me.
I think
I'm
another
trying
one
to
is
imagine
like
all the guys I know, and they all, I think, have
most of
had
them.
quite the history.
I mean, Punjabi shate like Naga or whatever you call it.
Chos
Fine.
pajama.
Yeah, like that's I'm not calling those people out because you shouldn't wear socks with like shalwar or whatever. But in general, the Western outfits where they don't wear the
This is a
socks.
very common Desi guy thing.
So just think about it. Anyone y'all know that does it and question whether that person is sketch or not.
Can't.
And I'm also dying to know because you both were like, I'm picturing somebody.
Oh yeah, many.
Me too.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Many.
So
I think another one would be just they don't listen. Like they
Isn't that
might look
all?
at you while you're talking. Oh,
That's all men.
Venus and Mars. You're probably right. But there's like some that like they're looking straight at you, but they're
Mm.
clearly not listening to you.
Again,
Right?
I
They're
feel
like,
like that's
uh-huh.
just
Mm-hmm.
all men.
And then they just keep talking about whatever, like completely gloss over whatever point you were trying to make and just talk about themselves.
Talking
It
about
could be all men.
themselves is
I hate
another
guys
one.
that talk over girls or their partners.
Mansplaining.
Mansplaining.
Is that mansplaining?
I would say it's
Yeah.
it
It's
would
one
fall
form
under
of it.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about this one? Being a mama's boy, is that a red flag to you guys?
Absolutely. See, now you're just cutting the pool of men for anybody. Like we're dwindling it down to just the bare minimum at this point, at least in our generation.
Yeah. Because, and again, it's pointing that out in our generation and our culture too. I don't think people live with their in-laws as much anymore. I don't know how it is in Dhaka because I know it's expensive. Rent is expensive in Dhaka. I feel like a lot of people still live in joint families or whatever they're called. But that's like a big one, right? You're living with your in-laws and your husband is a mama's boy and not really
Mhm.
protecting you or defending you when shit goes
Yes,
down.
that's huge.
That's a red flag, girls.
For sure.
That is huge. Or just how they
said-
treat their moms.
There
Go
are
ahead.
some mama's boys I feel like that are sweet boys. Like they know how to treat their women because they have a good relationship, a healthy relationship with their mothers.
That's it. That's
Not
it.
like this enmeshed, yucky.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
they treat their mothers, I think.
Mm.
Like if they understand and they respect that, then you would hope that that's how they would treat you too.
Yeah.
Wow. That leaves it down to not much.
I have one. When guys are weird with their phones and stuff,
Mhm.
What do you mean?
they're kind of hide and seeky. Like they're not always putting their phone face down. Whenever you're coming, kind of, I've dated a guy that was like that. Like he would never, like, just hand his phone. And it's not that I was one of those that I'd want to snoop around, but just always kind of this having this kind of shocked look every time I was like, oh, can I just check the time, or I got to text somebody, can you give me your phone? They get a little
uncomfortable. I don't know. I did not date. I did not date in the time of any kind of smartphone. I mean, we were still like press 2 3 times to get to the letter C in order to send a text. But I see that.
Yeah. And
I
even
see that.
if you catch them in a lie, right? And you're like, oh, it'll never happen again or whatever, like, no. If they're good at lying, they're good at lying. There's no like that's the only time they'll do it.
Yeah. And disclaimer, I would want to say we're no relationship experts. Personal. This is all from a personal experience, personal opinions. Or somebody be like, I just left my boyfriend who I was about to marry after listening to you guys. And the choka, juta, and chipa band.
That would be hilarious and not. But,
And not.
Oh my God.
You're by no means any expert.
Oh gosh. Yeah, we definitely are not. But those are our personal red flags.
Especially if they come to you saying that they were recruited by the Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, huge red flag.
Huge red flag.
What if they agree with everything you say?
Yeah, I don't like that.
That would be a red flag
personality.
in general. Yeah.
And is that a red flag for him or for you because you're okay with that? Because
Oh.
narcissists like that kind of relationship
my
where you're
God.
like, yeah, just agree with everything I say. I can do no wrong. And I would say in many cases, from a woman's perspective,
Yeah.
that's a red flag because many women tend to like that,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And yeah, not a fan of that.
Since we're talking red flags, what about some green flags? I mean, I know this is not a question that we had, but I think
Someone who wears socks.
too.
Please wear socks and sneakers and loose pants.
Oh my
I have one.
What?
It's a red flag. The ones that wear the sweaters or the t-shirts with the really big
Logos?
Oh, like the
Like
Bollywood?
like
Rocky?
the big like Gucci logos or the Louis Vuitton or with the pants, everything being super designer and
Brand
just
forward.
yeah.
I would argue, I find that very cat, but I would argue that many people do that because they watch these Bollywood movies where all the heroes are wearing them. Do you remember when Gap was like?
I was just gonna say this.
Tommy Hilfiger.
I was
Yeah.
just gonna say this. Yes,
So,
like Kuch
yeah.
Kuch Hota Hai was Gap.
Mhm.
That's all he wore.
So I would just defend in that scenario that I
Yeah.
get it that some of these men wore those because they were like, oh yeah, that's what they do. But I will tell you what another red flag, kind of going with the no socks situation, are all the dudes that wear shit from Express. Do you guys remember the store Express?
It's still around, but are you
Wait,
talking about like the really tight shirts with like
So when we were
buttons?
in college and post college, that era, Express
Oh,
for
yes.
men was
Yes.
very popular amongst the Desi community. And the dudes all shopped there.
Wow, this is interesting because I thought of that as a plus.
You like that. You like the tight shirt.
I was like, okay, like you
The
shop
pop
where I
collar.
shop.
I
Yeah.
just found it so douchey. Maybe that's not a red flag, guys. It's not a red flag. I just found it douchey.
I did see that as that alternative to Tommy and like huge polo.
Agreed. That's also douchey, but yeah, the Express outfits.
I saw that as a good thing.
Yeah, I found it douchey.
If
I'm
you
sure I
shop
saw it
at
as a good thing.
Express, hit up Marine.
I don't shop there now.
Well, you don't have to. The dudes do.
Oh my god. What else? Like I would say like, oh, are we moving to green flags? I don't even
I have
know.
another red flag.
Oh my gosh. We can't get off the red flags.
I feel like I'm literally drawing the same person. What we used to call metrosexuals, was that the term?
Wait, so you said cheapa pant, no socks, choka juta, express shirts.
It's the same
big brands.
It's the same person. I'm talking like
one.
the same. The guys that are so obsessed with how they look, and they're like constantly working on their outfits, doing their hair, all that stuff.
Gymming.
What is that? Gymming, gym 10 laundry.
Guys that take pictures like this.
Yeah, the ones who are like super active on social media and posting selfies. That's a red flag, man.
Wait, how is it okay for a girl to do it and not a guy?
It just is. But when dudes do it, it's like you are way into yourself.
Weird.
Yeah.
Get a hobby.
Get a hobby. You're right. The whole like Karan Johar.
Yeah, I just
pose. Oh my god! Again, we're dwindling the pool down to like nothing.
Yeah, but seriously, people comment if you agree or disagree. But that type of dude, they're just
the one
lame.
type.
No bueno.
They're just lame. That's my perspective. I don't know if you guys have different versions of that dude, but my version, I feel like I already drew that person. It's all the same.
I will
They're
send
just
you a photo of that person after.
I think there's a few.
There's a few.
yeah, those are all red flags for me.
I would agree. Except maybe Express. What are the green flags?
Green flags. So I just recently heard someone quote someone else, and it was don't look for a firecracker, find a fireplace.
Wow,
Do
I
y'all get
like
it?
Please
that.
explain. I don't get it.
So I think, we tend to gravitate towards the men who are like firecrackers, right? Like kind of like bad boys and
Mm,
just
Exciting.
a lot of the red flags that I just described. Fireplace is a place where you feel like you're at home, you're safe,
comfortable.
I
yeah,
literally just
comfortable.
imagine Fuad. The second you
I
said
see that.
fireplace, I'm just looking at
Mhm.
his belly and the kids just like all curled up around him. Oh, I'm just gonna give him a hug.
See, you better drop that
I see
line.
that.
You're gonna get laid tonight.
I see
You are my
that.
fireplace.
But I heard it and I was like, whoa.
I
It
get it.
kind of goes like, whoa, that's but then I went into the comments because people were like, no, that's like saying you are what's the term? I'm like basically you're accepting just like a you're not accepting. What's the word?
Oh,
Ah, like you're
settling?
settling, that you are settling by saying look for the fireplace because that means that person might not be giving you the butterflies or whatever. Like you're just going for someone that's simple, plain, comforting, and
I
not
don't think it's
necessarily.
so black and white. Like I would look for ambition.
Hmm.
I always think about somebody that has a genuine interest in something. Like there's so many people that have no actual interests. And
Yeah.
your conversation can only go so far.
Hmm.
Um, so that kind of stuff where they're like, they know what they're doing, but they kind of feel like they understand what they're doing. Or if they don't, they know where to go to seek help. It's okay to do that too.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the firecracker, when you were explaining it, I went to exactly who we were just describing, but that overconfidence of
Yep.
like, nobody can, I know exactly what I'm doing and I'm going to actually teach you how to do something. Like that's a red flag and a firecracker to me, as opposed to somebody that's like, has ambition, but also knows like when to tone it down, when to just like Netflix and chill sometimes and just not
Hmm.
have to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perform all the time.
Yeah, like Fuad is a
Yes.
Not
great
just
example
perform.
of that. He's so ambitious. He's so good at his craft. I will say when I was with you guys in New York, in New Jersey, I was watching him rehearse, and I've known him for so long. I have never seen him in the zone, and so like in as an expert in his craft. But as soon as he was out of that, he's the fireplace. Yeah. The Faiz
Yep.
Lami, he's there for Lulu and Zen, like all of it. There's a balance.
Yeah. I think another green flag is being how you are with your family or like your in-laws family, right? That's I think a huge green flag because ultimately in our culture we spend a lot of time with our families, our
Yeah.
extended families. We go stay with them. Like all these things that, aren't always as common in other cultures. So it's really important that your partner or spouse gets along with your family, knows to respect them and respect the expectations each family
Mm-hmm.
has. That's like a huge one that, you have to be like on the same page with a lot of that. And like I give Damon a lot of credit because he's not even from our culture and he has no problem sleeping on the floor with like 20 other tatas,
This guy.
at like a big family gathering because that's just how we be. But
I think we
I think
talked
that's a
about
big
this
one.
once, but I say maybe this is interfaith, intercultural. But in my observations, for those I know, those who have married outside of our community, um, men mostly, like the girls that are married outside of our community, those guys are so open and willing to just learn
Yeah.
and embrace. and just go with the flow and not, maybe ask questions about why or
Right.
explain so that I can learn, as opposed to, why the hell do you do that? Like, that's weird
Mhm.
and completely off-putting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen that in intercultural relationships.
What else? We're like, man, the red flags, we were all like, I got one, I got one.
Yeah. Green flags are
Intelligence
hard.
is a big one for me. I need
Which
to
one?
be
Say that
able-
again.
Intelligence.
Mm,
Like, if
mhm.
I can't have a decent conversation, then that boat has sailed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you only talk about cars and name brand. That is so
Mhm.
common, I feel like, with
Or
our.
people. I don't like
Oh, yeah.
people that just talk about other people.
Other people.
Mhm.
That's true.
The other one, I think, also because we're all working women,
Yes.
is having a supportive partner. I think that's a really big one because, especially
That's
because,
one of those ones, though, you don't know until you actually get into the weeds of things.
yeah,
That's
but
true.
I would say, like, if you're dating at an older age, older quote, like, we all started dating around, in our 20s, where we didn't really know that
Yeah.
much. We got married, I would say, young at this point, because we were
Super
like
young.
27 or even a little bit younger than that. But if you're in your 30s and you have a career, you're successful, I would definitely watch out for whoever you're with, that they are incredibly supportive and that they're okay with the fact that you may be more successful than your male counterpart. Because again,
Yep.
it's still evolving. The expectation is that the male is supposed to be the more successful person in a relationship. But I think it's really huge if you find partners who aren't threatened by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I hope that's different again. I think that's different for those that are younger than us. I see pockets of it for sure.
Yeah. And I see a lot of the women are more confident.
Mhm.
I know there are several Bangladeshi girls who are very active on social media now that have a big following, and I'm just like so proud of them because I see how confident they are. They're not shy about talking about how amazing they are, all things that I still feel uncomfortable doing. But
Yes.
like, I see it in the younger generation, and they're just like, look at me, I'm kicking ass. Look at where I was and where I am today. Like,
Super
that's awesome.
unapologetic. Mhm.
Yes, unapologetic. Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That can definitely
Wow.
be a little intimidating for guys, I think.
Yeah. It is, and I think that's why it's important that, especially if you are someone like that, that you find somebody who's comfortable with that, right? That they may not be at the same level. That's an important one.
Yeah, and don't hold yourself back. I think that's the other thing, is like, I've seen a lot of girls who are exactly all of those things, but they
Mhm.
hold themselves back because it makes their partner feel insecure.
Sure, yeah.
And then their whole life is like gone. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a bit extreme, but I've seen it where they're like not doing what they want to do, taking a back seat in many things because they want to make the other person feel more masculine and more, like the man of the relationship,
Yeah.
which is sad.
Mhm. I don't think I have any other ones.
What if it was all the red flags that, let's do it again. Chipa pant, chokha juta,
No
tight
socks.
express shirts, no socks, big brands,
What about big hair?
big hair,
Like big, like perfect hair.
and perfect dari.
That's
Like the
that
whole
same
lineup. It's the same, yes.
not metro.
But what
Metro.
if they are so nice to their moms?
Red flag, man.
And
Red flag. Don't care. Nobody should
they
be
are
that.
ambitious.
Oh my God. The dudes that get their eyebrows done?
No.
Yeah, it's the same guy that we're all picturing here. It's the same person. Perfect daddy, gets their eyebrows done.
Do
Cheap,
you think
like
there's a
slim
female
fitting clothes.
equivalent to this where they have their match?
100%.
They'll meet their match.
100%.
I could tell you a few. You know who I'm talking
We,
about.
all three of us were like,
Probably.
No, absolutely. We're not saying like men are the only ones that do it. And you asked the question of like why is it okay for a girl to have like to be way more active on social media and post selfies?
Yeah.
There is a limit even for women where you can tell the ones who are like, "Oh, feeling cute, might delete later," versus I'm going to be posting every single day a
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
selfie with my duck lips or whatever the heck that's called. And yeah,
Face
there's a
tuned.
there is a difference.
Yeah. Again, disclaimer, this is just our opinions.
100% our opinions,
Don't
and
kick our asses.
we fully acknowledge all three of us are dorks
Assholes
and
sometimes.
assholes, and we're not perfect. We
Nope.
know.
And Busha is the Kaishta too.
The
Yeah.
Kaishta.
Now, Kobis.
Gobis. What's the
For all
difference?
of, by the way, for those who did vote for Maya, good on you, because she is a freaking closet Kobis,
Closet Kobe's.
and it's just fucked up that you all just don't know it yet.
The closet
They will
Kobe's.
never find out.
Mm. All right.
But Marion, everybody thinks you're a prude.
Yes, what is this?
You still got 2 votes though.
Oh, did
Oh, I
she?
did? Was it you
Mhm.
two?
It was
No.
probably your sister.
Both of them. Oh
They
man.
probably said that's her.
Definitely the prude.
She is the one who used the word Kobisecta.
Yes.
So
Yes.
good
Kobis
marks
is a
to you
good
for
word.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's a great word.